Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be joining us from today. My name's Jack from FPP. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Just so I know that you can hear me loud and clear and everything's working okay, if you could just send a quick message saying hello and let me know where you're joining us from, that would be great. And then we will kick things off. So just while I'm waiting for a few messages to come in, today's session, it's not going to be a long one, maybe 25, 30 minutes. And we're going to be covering our new smart matching system. This was teased towards the middle of last month, I think. But we're finally almost up and running with it. And we're ready to sort of show you how it's going to be working. So obviously we've got Caroline here from Canada. We've got John from Brazil, Renata from Portugal, Lucy from Quebec, Robert from Ontario. So we've got people from all over. Mostly it seeming people are having a early morning watch with us, which is good. Seeing a few of my colleagues from FPP in the chat. We've got Amy from Minnesota. So welcome everybody and thank you for joining us today. So yeah, as I said, today we're going to be introducing the FPP Smart Matching, our newest sort of tool that we're quite excited about. We feel it's going to make a huge difference to both recruiters like yourselves and also very importantly to students as well. So let's start things off. Firstly, I wanted to mention you're here for an FPP presentation. That's how you will know. That's how we're known to these, to schools, to anybody involved in providing a service to students. But I want to begin with talking about the student world. And so the student world is how students know us. Everything we do that sort of touches students is called the student world. So all of our events are the student world. All our social media channels are under the student world branding. And so that's how students know us. And I wanted to sort of focus on this. Some of you have done events with us before. You'll have seen this, so you're sort of, it's not new to you, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone sort of understands what the stuff is before we sort of dive in. And just to give you an idea about sort of the student world's reach, we have sort of over 3 million followers from all around the world across our different social channels, so Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Facebook has sort of been the backbone of the student world for a long time now. And Instagram has been growing really fast over the last two years or so, and YouTube is something that we've really been trying to focus on over the past year. And I think that channel went from maybe 300 or 400 viewers up to 23,000 over the last year. So we're seeing a really sort of huge increase in how we're using video. Really important, I think, for students to have that kind of service. I'm a little bit distracted by all the messages and hellos flying in, which is great to see. I guess we've got quite a good number of spectators here today. So thank you everyone for being here. Again, just going back to the student world, I wanted to give you sort of a very sort of brief idea of how we promote our events. This isn't all the promotion we do, but as I mentioned, video is becoming a really important tool for students and sort of captures their attention. So Vincent, if you could play sort of a couple of videos we have, I think one promoting sort of undergrad events and one which is focusing on an MBA event we did. If Vincent, if you could sort of cue them up and get...
Learn, travel, live. The study abroad experience you are seeking is here. Explore destinations and universities from across the world at the Student World Virtual Fair, a free and online event. Meet with the universities and ask all your questions about programs and fees live. And if you don't know where to study yet, no worries. Our Study Abroad Match tool will find it out for you. Yep, we do the research and hard work so you can have time to do what really matters. All you gotta do is register. Know what all these countries have in common? High graduate employment rates and universities looking for you. Discover graduate and MBA programs at the best international institutions at the Student World Virtual Fair. Universities' representatives will be ready to answer all your questions live face-to-face. And use our search tool to find options on your preferred locations and fields. Not sure about where to study yet? We'll help you with that. After registering for the event, use our Study Abroad Match to find the ideal university for you. See, we've got it all covered for you to turn your study goals into reality. Wait no more. Register free.
Okay, thank you, Vincent. So as you saw towards the end of both of those videos, we do mention the matching. It's not quite ready yet. We'll be introducing it to our events in the next couple of weeks, I believe, but we are ready to show you how it works, which is quite exciting. I'll firstly sort of run through a few points about it, how it works, some of the advantages we believe it brings to both exhibitors and students, and then I'll be able to give sort of a quick demonstration from both the student side and the university side of how we sort of get things ready to go. And so it's built on two sides, as I said. We firstly have the student side, and so when a student comes to register for one of our events, they firstly have to enter a few of their contact details, which is obviously very important for you as recruiters. And then we ask 9 questions, which cover sort of a range of aspects about what they might be looking for when it comes to their study. I won't list these questions here because we'll run through them in the demo shortly. And then from the exhibitor side, as you'll know, if you've done one of our virtual events, you are able to build your profile in the FPP Hub. And we've introduced a section here, which is sort of focusing on the matching. And this is where you sort of provide the answers to the questions students are answered. So we can sort of have our algorithm work its magic, and it'll link you up with those students that are a good match. And it's important to mention as well that the matching is based on percentage. It's not a simple yes or no. So if a student is looking for some factors you offer, they will be a match to a certain degree. They will, that you don't have everything they're looking for. And so just a few advantages and benefits for exhibitors when we introduce the matching. It makes it much easier to be found by the students that are looking for what you have. You don't sort of have to rely on your branding or just sort of your position in the list. If a student's scrolling through, you don't have to rely on sort of your booth catching their eye. Students are able to sort of see, well, once they've registered on the website, they can see their matches, which I'll show you shortly. And then also in the platform, students will be able to see which institutions are their best matches, so they're more likely to come into these. And the great thing about this is students are going to visiting booths of universities or schools or colleges of those that they maybe hadn't heard of before. They may be familiar with some of the bigger names, but there's many schools out there. So of course, no student knows all of them. And so they're likely to come into more booths that they may not have visited otherwise. And then as well, because students are able to see that you have something they're very interested in, they are able to sort of ask the questions that really matter to them. You're not having questions from students who are looking for a program that you don't offer, or a student who's interested in studying only in the United States and you're a school in France, for example. I'm sure you'll still get those students, but hopefully there's a far fewer amount than you might get at other events. You're also able to perhaps prioritize your time at the events. So if you have a booth full of students, you're able to see how you match with each of them. And of course, it's always great to talk to all the students because just because you maybe don't match so highly with one student, it may turn out that they are a good fit. But at the same time, it's worth focusing on those students that have a higher match because you have more of what they're looking for. And then because of both of these factors, spending more time focusing on students that are looking for what you offer, you have more meaningful conversations. And so hopefully, because the students coming into your booth are really interested in what you have, hopefully the conversion rate is going to be higher for you. And then from the student side of things, again, as universities can be easily found, it's easy for students to search for what they're looking for. We still have the tools so they can set certain filters within the fair, because not all students, I guess, have made up their mind prior to an event. I think that's a great thing about it, is if a student doesn't really know, they can browse booths and things like that still. But if a student does know what they're looking for, it's easy for them to see which of their good matches. And this saves a student a lot of time. And I think that's becoming more and more important to students because there's so many different ways to search for institutions now. Coming to one of our events where they can see which schools they match really well with, it saves them a lot of time having to sort of figure that out for themselves. And then, yes, as I mentioned before, students can perhaps discover new institutions they hadn't heard of, and so that really expands their horizons. And then the final thing I think to mention is it helps students prepare for the events. And this is, I think, something that's really important. Students can see, again, before the event, which institutions they do match with. So rather than sort of checking out all the exhibitors and not knowing much about any of them, they can perhaps see which of their top 3, 4, or 5, or however many institutions, and then they can visit their websites, find out a bit more about their courses in more detail, and whatever else they might want to know in particular. And then they're able to bring these questions to the event. And that means that you're not just answering the basic questions, they're able to get some really valuable information from the fairs. So I think now we can move on to a demo. So I'll take you through sort of the student registration process, how they do the matching side, and then we'll take a look at the exhibitor side. So if you've built a booth, maybe you're already familiar with this, although it is a new section we've added recently. So I'll run through those very quickly. But first, Vincent, if you could play the next video, which I think is...
Finding your match is now easier than ever, at least when it comes to studying abroad. At the Student World Virtual Fair, you will find and meet with the best matching universities abroad for you. All you gotta do is register for the event and take a quick test. Here are the results. Then, during the fair, you can use your time to ask questions and engage with the universities. And the best part is, this is all for free. Wait no longer. Register now and find your better half.
Perfect. So I'm not sure how that video appeared to all of the viewers, but on my screen it was a little bit squashed. It's sort of on mobile format, so perhaps if you're watching from a desktop, it may have looked a little bit distorted, but hopefully you still got the idea of what we're going for there. So here I'm showing you the matching system. Students reach here. First, again, all our promotion takes students to the event website where they have to fill out a few of their contact details. And once they've done that, they're able to move on to the matching process. We have 9 questions, and I'll run through these very quickly just to sort of give you an idea of the questions we ask and how sort of the matches are shown. So, for example, in this case, let's say we're a student looking for a postgraduate course. May run a little bit slowly, but we'll get from the from screen to screen. It's just my connection isn't great at the moment. And let's say the student is from let's say they're from Colombia and they either want to study in English or in Spanish. Then the next field we ask, or the next question we ask, is which field they're interested in. Here we allow up to 2 choices, and within each choice there's sort of many more options. We think that students have a rough idea, at least, of what they're looking to study, and that's why we've allowed 2 choices, but we think that's probably enough. Students can come back to us at any time to sort of redo their choices if they want to see what other matches they can get and things like that. So these answers aren't sort of final. And so within the fields, you're then able to select different courses. We don't have an unlimited number of courses here. In the past, we did have a huge amount, and it just became very confusing both for exhibitors when building your booth and also students when searching for courses, because institutions may have very specific names or very niche courses, which can be kind of relating to a more broad field. So we've tried to keep this a little bit general and hope that sort of students and universities can kind of work out the matching system, or rather how their courses fit into what they're looking for. So, for example, in business management, if the student is interested in international business, marketing, and let's say innovation management. And then if they're also have a broad range of interests, maybe they're interested in aerospace and automotive engineering and environmental engineering. And then on to the next screen. And so here we ask where they'd like to study. At the moment, we're allowing them to select up to 2. And so we have a range of countries, which are generally the more popular countries. But the students, if they're very specific or they have a better idea of where they want to study, they can select it from anywhere within this list. So let's say that the United Kingdom is not listed. So let's choose that as an option, like Spain, as a student was thinking about studying in Spanish. So the next question we ask, what is the student happy to or expecting to pay on tuition per year? Obviously, different schools, different countries have different fees. So maybe the student is not really going to be able to study at every school in every country. This is perfectly okay, of course, and we have a huge range of exhibitors at the events. So in this case, let's say the student has a budget of $20,000 per year. What I'll say here is that if a student has a budget of $20,000, it will be all the schools who have sort of tuition fees for anywhere from 0 up to 20,000 that sort of marked as a match in this case. The next question we ask is it essential to work while studying? In this case, let's just say no, it's not essential. The student has, enough means to get themselves by. And then again, it's not essential for them to stay on after their course to sort of gain professional experience. The next question, and I believe the final question, is we ask what size school the student would like to study at. Although we don't mention the size here, the size is reflected in the exhibitor side when building the booth to give you an idea of sort of how we judge what is a small, medium, or large school. In this case, we'll put not relevant as for the student not being too bothered about the size of their school. And so that's it. The student is now registered for the event and they're able to see their best matches before. So in this case, we have 3 top matches, all with 79%, all with campuses in Spain. I know that e-business school have campuses in other countries as well, but because they have a campus in Spain, they're marked as sort of a high ranking choice for them. And then as you can see, as we scroll down, the match percentage does sort of decrease a little bit. What I'll say about this is our demo environment. So not all of these profiles are completely filled, and that's why perhaps some of the matching isn't as high as it might be. But it gives you an idea of how the system works. And so once the students got their matches, they're able to click on the profile, which will load up. They can share it on WhatsApp, on Facebook, just to let their friends and family know where they might be going to study or what they're going to look at. And of course, they can use the time after to visit the university's websites. So if I share another screen with you, I'm seeing a couple of questions come in. We'll cover questions at the end of the session. I'll do my best to answer. If I'm not able to answer, please feel free to get in touch with us at talk2@fpp.world, but I'll do my best to answer anyway. So once your students register, they're able to view their matches. But what we also do is send over an email just to sort of let them know have their matches, and then of course they can come back at any time, view the full list, and just have a reminder of who they matched with. And then before finally moving on to the exhibitor side, I just wanted to quickly share, hopefully I will be able to zoom in, quickly share the registration page for a typical event we have now. So all the events again are a student world, and once the student has clicked on a link from one of our promotional items, they're taken to the event website, and it talks a little bit about how the matching system works. We think it's a really exciting tool for students to sort of encourage them to join one of our events. And so we let them know we match you, and then we connect you at the event. And again, it is a very straightforward and simple process for students. We don't want to overcomplicate things, because the more complicated it gets, the fewer students will sort of follow through with the whole registration. And so again, this is just a demo, so that's why we have repeated logos here. But on the event website, even without matching, the student is still able to see all the different exhibitors, so they can still sort of browse who's going to be at the event. And so finally, moving on to the exhibitor side. Again, if you've done one of our events, I'm sure this looks very familiar to you, so I'll run through this very quickly. This is the FPP Hub, which is really your management area where you build your booth, where you're able to register for events, where you can download leads after your events. But I just really wanted to come here just to show you sort of how the matching system works from the university side of things. So if I just head to the Latin America Virtual Fair, again, many of these are existing tabs. And so the one I wanted to focus on today was the matching tab. And so as I mentioned, this is designed to sort of answer the questions we ask for students. So in this case, let's say that we don't offer language courses, but we do offer undergraduate and graduate. Then you have the option to enter your tuition fees, and then we've set a range for this. Difficult to kind of cater for all in this instance because there's short courses, or maybe there's different fees for undergrad and postgrad, or different courses have different fees. So it is key. So we've decided to offer the opportunity to sort of enter a range. Again, for European schools, I know that EU students have one fee, some non-EU students have another. So there are a lot of factors that go into this, which can make it a little tricky, but we hope that it kind of, narrows things down for students. And again, the matching is not a yes or no, it's built on a percentage. So even if a student is looking for a course with a lower budget than what you have listed, there'll still be a match to a certain extent. So you enter and then you're also able to offer to select several languages here, the languages of tuition. Then we come to school size, and so we'll be able to see that we kind of consider a small, medium, or large school, 1,000, medium 5 to 20,000, and large more than 20,000 students. And again, it's important to note that this is just a small percentage of the match. So if you are somewhere in that range, not sure, you may or may not be a match, but it is only going to make a small difference. So then we look at work opportunities while studying and after, and then the study areas. So here, for example, business management, you're able to select all if you want, and perhaps select if you offer something at undergrad, postgrad, grad level. And that's it. We've tried as straightforward as possible. We know that there's a lot of different events out there and it can take a lot of time to get ready. So we want to keep things as simple as possible, but also to be as helpful as possible. Because at FPP, we are firstly a tech company. Our events are built on our platform, and it's something that we're really proud of, and it's something that's always evolving. And innovation is something that's driven this company for the past 20 years. We're always trying to sort of look for the next thing to help both yourselves as recruiters and students as the next generation of, well, world leaders perhaps, or whatever they might go on to be. We're always looking to make things as easy and as good as possible. So that's the end of the demo. If I just come back to the presentation, I think that's the whole. I think we kept it under 30 minutes. So if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat bar. So the first question I'm seeing is from Denise. Can students choose an unlimited number of courses within the field of study? So for the number of courses we set, they can choose 2 fields of study, and at the moment 3 courses within that. They can, once they've done the selections, they can either go back right away to make some changes, or they can log into their Student World account and sort of make changes via that way. So from Stefan Swan, who asks, we have a tuition of X, but will typically scholarship strong students down to Y. Take into account the discount rates students may receive, so we don't miss out on students who only have Y to begin with. That's a good question. At the moment, no, the algorithm doesn't consider that. I guess we have a couple of options here. Either you can enter the range. I know it may be, if it's a large scholarship, it may leave quite a range. But as I said, it does only make up a small percentage really of the overall matching. So even if a student doesn't match necessarily with your tuition, they can still see you as a match. It just perhaps might not be high as it would have been. I hope that helps, but if, again, as I mentioned before, if it doesn't cover everything, please get in touch with us at talk2@fpp.world, and we'll get back with a little bit of clearer information. Next question is from Amy, who asks, after the fair, would we be provided with all our matches above a certain percentage, regardless of whether or not they visited the booth during the fair? I don't want to confirm that. I know it was discussed, but I'm not sure if it's confirmed. So I won't give you a yes or a no on that at the moment. If Amy, I'm sure we will have your contact details, but if not, if you again want to send an we'll be able to confirm that with you a couple of days. But yeah, as I guess from your question, you do know that every student that visits your booth, you'll receive their contact details. And then from Lucy Dennis, would you like to study? Why are there only 2 choices for students? This is something, again, the matching process is evolving constantly. We decided to begin it with 2 choices, just because I think students generally have a rough idea of where they want to study. Again, they can come back to change it at any time, and it is just the matching. It does, it doesn't eliminate schools that aren't in these 2 countries from sort of the event for them. They just won't be as high. And also in the platform, we do have the option to search via country as well. So if a student maybe set the US and Canada as their 2 preferred choices, but in the event are thinking, actually, maybe I want to study in Germany, they can search for schools in Germany as well. So although they might not be matched as highly, it's still possible for them to see those schools. Any other questions? And so if there are no other questions, again, I just wanted to mention the matching is going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully by the ends, events happening towards the end of March. If any of you are registered for those, we'll have the matching in place, and hopefully you'll notice a difference there. There is another question that's just come in. Can you match accordingly to the price? So you're not able. So again, the price is just a small percentage of the overall match, and students, I guess, maybe you're referring to sort of the option for students to search or filter, as I know you can on many different websites, by price. And right now, no, it's not possible to sort of list the exhibitors by price. I hope that was sort of answered your question. But it looks like that's all the questions there were. I hope there's still a few of you that have stuck around to the end. But again, any further questions at all, feel free to either get in touch with your FPP representative or with us at talk2@FPP World, and we'll get back in touch with you right away. So thank you everybody for joining. I know it's very early in the morning for some of you, and I imagine quite late in the evening for others. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you hopefully at one of our events so you can enjoy the smart matching soon.